Hello there, this is Critical from Critical Media, just taking a look at the 2006 reintroduction of The Eternals by Neil Gaiman and John Romita Jr. This particular hardcover comes to us from 2020, so we're just going to take a look at the exterior, bit of the bonus material, plot points, and a brief overview at the end. Now, being a reintroduction, it makes sense that it has a profile shot of the Eternals themselves. So, if you didn't already know, Icarus, Makari, Circe, Zarus, and Sprite, and of course Druig, Ajax, and my favorite, Thena, the warrior, tactician. I love her. So, aside from the front here, which has a pretty much a red plume, if you're considering the color setup on your bookshelf, you have your typical spine as per normal, so badged at the top, a little character profile at the bottom there. And in terms of the rear here, yes, we have excellent work here by Mark Berry, who evokes a lot of the Asad Ribich's style. So I feel like those two would bounce off each other well if they ever did a book together. But very evocative covers there. And speaking of which, thankfully the binding also was given a very nice little treatment here. So as you can see, highly detailed. It's already probably bringing up the Kirby crackle to some folks. Romita did an excellent job. This is essentially just a two-page spread from within the book, and it's great for just appreciating the scaling as well as the detailing. Because Kirby was always known for his line work, and I appreciate that you could still kind of see that here and even in Romita's representation of it. So, not bad there as well. Now, being more of a traditional hardcover, thankfully there's not too much in terms of promotional material. I'm not really too much of a fan of that in the trades usually, where they are often promoting other books. Usually, when I get a book, I want it to be a book, not be a promotional item. But hey, it's not hurtful too much when it happens. And at least in terms of bonus content, of course, you get some variants by Romita. The Mark Berry covers are as they should be, aligned up properly. But you get a little bit of an interview here with Neil Gaiman, some, of course, sketch work here by Romita, and I like how they show you, the Kirby original influence, because I always felt like Romita's work is very boxy and cartoony, but it's more of its own artistic influence. Whereas Kirby, I've always found that he had a boxy style, but they were more anatomically correct in the way they prosed around. So I appreciate at least they chose him. I'll never understand why people consider Ramita a bit of what's the word? It fallen into repetition with his panels. I find a lot of artists are guilty of the same crime. For instance, I could just think of Jim Lee, Jason Fabok, Rob Liefeld, Brett Booth, just to name a few, just off the top of my head right now. But I won't belabor that issue. I just always found it was odd that people would jump on Ramita like that. And of course, just his proposal, Neil Gaiman's that is, on how he wanted to, attack the story. And I love the genius idea of not making it a reboot, but rather a reintroduction. So it doesn't devalue any of the previous stories that's actually included with this lore, but it also helps, introduce these characters into the modern Marvel zeitgeist of its time. Speaking of which, this story, it did take place shortly after Civil War, or should I say maybe during. So you hear a lot of the Superhero Registration Act, join now kind of thing. Almost sounds like an Uncle Sam ad or whatever. But being a retelling, or sorry, a reintroduction, it actually helps you relate to these characters a lot more. So jumping right in, basically in a nutshell, after coming back from the Resurrection Chamber this time round, there's more of an amnesiatic take on these Eternals. Like they don't even realize that they themselves are gods. So here we have just Mark Curry here, aka Makari, and yeah, you can see he's just a humble med student here, sleeping on the job. But I can understand those long hours. But nonetheless, you'll notice that other characters like Circe, Thena, and Druig are also in the same boat, just trying to live regular lives, not realizing what they really are. Icarus, or Ike Harris, I love the whole naming allegory there. He seems to be the only one who's aware of what they are and just trying to rally the troops for a pretty big ordeal that they're going to have to endure. So I do appreciate that. Yes, he comes off kind of as the reckless vagabond kind of dude, almost a crazy man spitting weird logic. But I always appreciate that. And I just particularly love this page because I just love the profile, but especially this because, at least in street clothes, I can't help but think of Marv from Sin City. Like, just a perfect black and white. I wonder if that was the intention, the homage or not. But anywho, throughout the story, you're introduced to them, and they're more so living just regular lives. So it helps you pace together all the, of course, elements that need to follow. And because they understand, of course, not many folks have been, what's the word, introduced to the Eternals before, they kind of give you a quick little retelling, and it's done with excellent artwork, homaging, of course, Kirby's efforts here. So, of course, the Celestials coming in, working on some proto-humans, aka cave people, so to speak, creating the first other life forms like the changing people, aka the deviants, as well as the police, the Eternals themselves, and their ongoing strifes through the many hosts that the Celestials have come to be. And I just love how the changing people, because they're so dynamic, like they can be drawn in so many different ways, it allows a creator to really jump on this, like really take advantage of those kind of ideas and really just run wild with the colors and the sketching and even the angles that they decide to choose. So I really appreciate that. Almost has like a Cronenberg kind of look, the changing people do. But beyond that, I won't go too far into the plot points here. But because I mentioned this happens during Civil War, there's like a little hostage scenario, and you get to see an excellent use of Romita's work. One thing I like about his blocky style is that it helps like Iron Man look even more epic than normal. And this is just him coming to save the day during that hostage situation. Awesome artwork and detail, him crashing through the window. So perfect. Beyond that, though, another thing I always loved about Kirby was that he always had these structures that were very unique. They're very abstract, very asymmetrical. And you'll see a lot of lines that you usually don't see in other books and whatnot, or just in general structure or architecture. So what I like about Romita is that he gives it a lot of 3D depth here. Like, I've seen Kirby's art in my mind. I have it on my Twitter almost every other day. But I really appreciate this because I've rarely seen it on a 3D angle done so well. This is just the empty city of Olympia, since all the Eternals are still waking up and whatnot. But anywho, still excellent uses there. One of the few two-page spreads here. Probably the last one I just want to show off here is, of course, the Celestial in question. That's the cause for their anguish, or for the point of the story. Essentially, if this guy wakes up, all the other Celestials show up, and therefore Earth is screwed. But I'm just trying to show this here, just to show maybe how much gutter loss you can see for yourself. Hopefully it captures it well there for you. And also, this is a great example of not just the detailing and lines, but also the scaling, because that right there, that's the Golden Gate Bridge. That right there, that's not a regular person. That's actually Yellow Jacket. That's Giant Man or Ant-Man at full size, just to show you how big a Celestial really is. So I definitely appreciate that they get the scaling down right. Now, the overall book, I would give it an 8 out of 10 because it's a great method, or should I say use, of the literary device of retelling a story, or should I say retelling, or should I say reintroducing, my apologies, that's the word I was looking for. Because it still has a lot of the tomes of the original. It makes it more personable for today. Like the dialogue is written in a more, a more like-minded sense as of today's kind of vernacular. I like how the Eternals themselves have their unique kind of speaking. The changing people, like the two in question, like Gelt and, forgive me, Marjok, I believe his name is. They have a very specific way of speaking, and I like how that comes across. Like, Neil Gaiman, you're a king, man. But yeah, overall, excellent story. It's definitely worth a pickup, that's for sure. The reason why I have this Captain America here is because I noticed that with Jack Kirby, even though he came back to Marvel in '76 to, give them this golden goose egg, um, there was actually hints of the Eternals throughout the Marvel lore, even dating back to the '40s and the Golden Age. Specifically, the character Makari, the speedster of the Eternals, he's actually retconned as being this gentleman from the Golden Age, the Hurricane, who is also a speedster, the son of Thor, god of thunder, descendant of the ancient Greek gods. Kind of throws your brain for a loop there because it's like, wait, what? But otherwise, this was actually one of my favorite parts of this Omni from the '40s. Like, I actually used to look forward to when I was finished the Captain America story, awesome as they are. I like the Hurricane, like the stories of Harry Kane, very similar to Mark Curry, Makari. So I just found that to be a nice little Easter egg there. And, for fans of Romita, definitely, give Men of Tomorrow a chance. This was hands down my favorite story of the New 52 for Superman. Definitely a, what's the word? Not so much a mind F, but definitely a theological issue that arises in this book. But enough with the detractors there. Back to the business here. I wouldn't mind hearing your thoughts on, of course, if you have this copy or just want to come across it. Maybe you're going to watch the movie pretty soon. But either way, I wouldn't mind hearing your thoughts just in the comments down below, nonetheless. Nonetheless, you folks take care, and hopefully I see you guys in the next video. Bye now.